What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Off the Top Rope, Off the Mic Sports Network. So SummerSlam has ended. First two-night affair. Kind of a mixed bag on Sunday night. Obviously, I think the Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch match was certainly a choice, and then the Solo Sikoa Jacob Fatu match. But first two matches outstanding. The Dom and AJ match was actually low key, kind of really good. Even if it was kind of goofy in spots, and it was an ode to Eddie Guerrero. And then the main event, which is what I want to talk about here. Cody Rhodes wins back the WWE Championship from a fully babyface John Cena. The heel turn is over. It has been done in. I wanted to wait to do this video to see if John Cena did, in fact, stay heel. This was all a ruse, but it was not. It was undone, and they undid it in a really unspectacular way. And what you have seen over the last 3 days, in my opinion, is a giant middle finger from Triple H over to Dwayne The Rock Johnson and TKO for what they did with that John Cena heel turn at Elimination Chamber. And then the follow-up that came from it, which was some of the worst produced content maybe in WWE history. The John Cena heel turn is going to go down as one of the worst decisions in WWE history because of how they followed it up. The soul turn itself is one of the great moments in WWE history, but how they followed it up and what it led to, one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history, one of the worst main events in WrestleMania history, and the John Cena heel run itself for 4 or 5 months as WWE champion was bad. It was not good. And I throw that at Triple H because they did not have a plan once The Rock wasn't there. They did not have a plan once Travis Scott and all this stuff blew up in their face. So some of this is TKO and, Nick Khan, Ari Emanuel, and all the people in charge, specifically The Rock. And the minute The Rock came on and said that he didn't need to be there, I was like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. So what you saw in this main event, which went almost 38 minutes, was exactly what WrestleMania needed to be. And you could have had John Cena turn heel in that main event, and it would have maybe been profound. And maybe they could have found something out of this. But hindsight's 2020. Maybe we didn't need to turn John Cena heel in the first place. Maybe we didn't. But the way I look at what we saw on Friday on SmackDown and on Sunday in this main event, this was a giant middle finger to everybody involved who failed to see through what could have been an iconic creative decision in WWE history. So to everybody, because everybody was like, oh, Rock's going to show up and turn Cody heel. Travis Scott's going to show up. We're going to have all this bullshit. No, it was just John Cena and Cody Rhodes beating the living shit out of each other in a street fight and, heart, will, determination, using nefarious means, but no heel turn, no bullshit. I said this on my social media. There was no bullshit. There was no gimmicks. I mean, yes, there was the street fight gimmick itself, but hey, this was all about the championship and doing whatever it means necessary to win it. That's what it should have been about in the first place. And then John, in a regular match, could have kicked him low and stole the title without needing The Rock, without needing Travis Scott, without needing all this bullshit, without doing it at a random show in Elimination Chamber. The moment itself is always going to be great. But as I've always said on this channel, and you guys who have ridden with me since the beginning, since I started doing this on an extended basis, no, you're only as good as your payoff. Okay? Moments are great in wrestling, but if you don't pay them off correctly, then who's to say how it's going to go? And I think what WWE did here was absolutely the right decision. They're not going to look good in it, but they recognized, hey, listen, us going into this match on Sunday with, a heel John Cena and a babyface Cody Rhodes, even with the street fight stipulation, was going to work. So they just basically blew the whole thing up in the most insignificant way possible. It popped the crowd that John was and John cut an incredible promo, but it was like on a random SmackDown, and they did it that way. That was basically them telling you, guys, what we did for the last 4 months fucking sucked. It fucking sucked. And Triple H has got to own this as this being one of his biggest creative failures. But he was set up to fail. Make no mistake about it. But as a good content and chief content officer in WWE, as the guy who's leading the charge for WWE, Triple H should have had a better plan, even though he got caught with his pants down with this whole dynamic of this whole heel turn with what happened. We'll never know how true that story that we saw on WWE Unreal is, that this was their idea and, how this was laid out and how all this came together. Because you guys cannot convince me that they didn't go into this whole thing, this whole sell your soul, this whole idea of things, that they didn't go into this with the idea that Rock wasn't going to be there. John Cena was alone, and it didn't work. It didn't work. We thought heel Cena could have been one of the great things in professional wrestling. It was just him whining and moaning at the fans. And that's not what it should have been. Or at least if you're going to, at least maybe it could have worked if, he didn't have The Rock, and The Rock, basically that whole sell your soul thing. That was where this whole thing lost me. So then we went through the greatest hits of his whole run. We went through Randy Orton. We went through CM Punk. We had our truth mixed in the middle, which was fine. And then we get back to Cody Rhodes. And, Cody Rhodes wins back the championship. I thought there was a small possibility that, that John Cena would retain as a babyface, but, they didn't go that route. There was something that happened in this main event that is another big headline that I did not have on my bingo card that we're going to talk about here on the channel later on as we sort of hit you up with a bunch of videos. I'm worn out from doing a live watch along. So, I'm not going to do a live post show, but I'm going to get you guys with some videos. But the biggest takeaway is this Mania match that should have been, two of the greatest of all, two of the biggest baby faces of all time, at least, Cody is heading in that direction. And Cena is obviously, we get them in their truest forms, all the color schemes and everything. No negativity, no angry John Cena, no fake John Cena that we knew that wasn't really him from what we've seen over the last, 20 years, 25 years. And these two just beat the living crap out of each other. A bunch of thrilling near falls, a bunch of cool weapon spots. They used the Cody Vader, which was great. And even if this thing went like 35 minutes, it didn't feel like it dragged, much like, the Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch match earlier in the show. This was a great main event. This is what WrestleMania needed to be. And a lot of the reason why that Mania main event fell flat is Cena turned heel too quickly. And then the two people that were integral in his turn weren't there. Travis Scott was the only one who was there. So one of the two. And the one that we didn't want to see was there. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with The Rock in WWE. Like, listen, we had the chance to see the Rock Roman match. You bloodline truthers or you Rock truthers, it's over. The Rock screwed the pooch on potentially having the biggest money match in the history of WWE. If he wants to come back and face Cody Rhodes, he screwed that up. If he wants to come back and face Roman Reigns, he screwed that up. He screwed up what could have been one of the defining moments in WWE history with the John Cena heel turn, and then just decided to dip. If I'm John Cena, I'm fucking livid. If I'm John Cena, I'm fucking livid. Because this is his retirement run. And the moment that we all thought that we were going to see was basically completely just bastardized because WWE creative got put in a position, and I blame Triple H for this. He should have been better at his job in being able to do damage control. But in that respect, if you're going to come up with this idea and you don't have an idea of the follow-up or the pieces that you think are there are going to fall out, have contingency plans or just don't do it. Just don't do it. So what they did here, in my eyes, is basically just say, fuck it, we're done with this. Let's have fun for the last 4 months of this run with John Cena. And, let's have him pop the crowd, do what he normally did, and let's just act like the last 4 or 5 months didn't happen. So it was a giant fuck you to Rock and everybody involved who just dipped. Travis Scott for failing to commit to the bit. Because listen, Travis Scott, that whole element of it is a bunch of bullshit because you saw what Jelly Roll did on Saturday night and committing to the bit. Travis Scott didn't give a shit. Quick pop in, take a day and a half in the main event of WrestleMania, finish the worst Mania main event maybe of all time. Everything that Mania main event should have been was what you saw in the SummerSlam in the SummerSlam Sunday main event. So I don't know what you guys think. Some people are disappointed Cody didn't turn heel. I don't know what you guys want to think. This was a fucking street fight. They weren't going to turn him heel. But what happened after the match, we need to talk about that. And we'll get to that here on the channel and have my reactions overall to the show and everything. So get those comments in. Tweet at me at Off the Mic 28 at OT Mike Sports. Thanks to everybody for 2 nights. Great of SummerSlam. Overall, pretty solid couple nights. You know, couple hits, a bunch of hits. Some noteworthy misses, particularly on Sunday, that I'll talk about. But thanks everybody who subscribes and loves professional wrestling, and you at least give me your time here on the channel. So hit that subscribe button, notifications, whatever. We'll have a lot more stuff coming out of SummerSlam. This is gonna be fascinating to see where we go. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.